I heard Vivian was in on a bet. Could she get me, the toughest guy at Eastside, how to crack in 3 weeks? I pretended I didn't know, played along, and let her win me over, acting like the most devoted, loyal puppy she could ever ask for. Her best friend laughed, calling me her greatest trophy. Her childhood friend called me cheap and brainless. She never denied any of it, just assumed I was so head over heels I'd never leave her. The day the SAT scores were released, I lit a cigarette and slapped my score report into her hands. The bet's over, sweetheart. You were a decent tutor. Thanks for that. She stared at the old scar on my eyebrow, visible again now that I'd stopped trying to look clean-cut, and at the familiar hard look back in my eyes. For the first time, she looked completely lost. I first saw Vivian Hayes at the edge of my neighborhood. Her pale-colored Northwood Academy uniform was so clean it hurt to look at, a stark contrast to the grit and decay around us. She was tall and slender, waiting for someone with a backpack slung over her shoulder. The setting sun traced her in gold, making her look like a painting that had been hung in the wrong gallery. I was squatting on the curb with a few of my guys, taking a smoke break. I watched her through narrowed eyes. Damn, a Northwood brainiac, Jake muttered, sucking on the butt of his cigarette. Not our kind of people. I knew that better than anyone. All my life, the one thing I wanted to be was one of those good students. But the smoke I exhaled curled into a smirk. She's a knockout, though. Forget it, Leo, Jake said. Girls like that, their noses are so high in the air they can't see guys like us. I didn't say anything, just scoffed internally. Can't see us? I didn't need her to see me. I just needed her to be my ladder out of this cesspool. My mom took off years ago. My dad's a drunk and a gambling addict who uses his fists on me when he's wasted, calling me a worthless disappointment. I had to sneak off to work construction gigs just to scrape together enough money for school fees. At a school like Eastside, if one kid a year got into a top-tier university, it was a miracle. I wanted out. School was the only way, but my foundation was garbage. Vivian Hayes was a legend at the prestigious school across town. Top of her class, a shoo-in for an Ivy League scholarship. Her rich father, wanting to be close by for her senior year, had bought an apartment in this shithole, right in the building next to mine. Same place, different worlds. But I was going to cling to that one tiny similarity. I tossed my cigarette, buzzed my hair short, and put on a faded, washed-out uniform. Every day, I started timing it perfectly, waiting downstairs where she'd have to pass. At first, she didn't even glance my way. So I started reciting vocabulary words out loud, my pronunciation so awful it made my own skin crawl. I'd sit there with an advanced calculus textbook, scratching my head in frustration. Finally, on the third day, she saw me practically tearing my hair out over an AP physics problem. She stopped. Your force analysis is wrong. Her voice was cool and detached. She took my pen and drew a few lines on my scrap paper. Use this theorem. I snapped my head up, forcing an expression of awe and frustration. Oh, like this? Wow, you're incredible. She just grunted a non-committal and started to walk away. I immediately scrambled to my feet. Hey, do you think maybe I could ask you for help again sometime? Just a couple of problems. She didn't answer, but she didn't say no. The next day, I was there again. The third day, I showed her a similar problem to the one she'd helped with, now solved correctly, grinning like an idiot to share the good news. A flicker of surprise crossed her face, probably shocked that a delinquent like me could actually apply what I'd learned. The fourth day, the fifth. I figured out her routine, engineering perfect chance encounters, asking questions that were challenging but not so dumb they'd annoy her. One afternoon, during a downpour, I let myself get soaked to the bone while shielding my textbook under my jacket and ran right in her under her umbrella. She paused for a second, then tilted the umbrella over me. I seized the opportunity, hitting her with a difficult concept I'd prepped. She explained it as we walked, her voice surprisingly soft against the drumming of the rain. After a month of this, Jake sidled up to me. Leo, you hear? Vivian Hayes made a bet with some people that she could get you in 3 weeks. I froze for a second, then a cold smile spread through me. Perfect. The opportunity had just been hand-delivered. The next day, when I waited for Vivian, I saw it. Her gaze was different. It was no longer just helping a fellow student. There was an assessment in her eyes now, a playful, predatory glint. When I accidentally tripped and bumped into her again, apologizing profusely, she grabbed my arm to steady me. She didn't let go right away. Leo came. She said my name, her voice low and a little seductive. You free tonight? Library study room. I can highlight some key points for you. I looked up, widening my eyes, a mask of pure shock and delight. 4. For real? Wouldn't that be too much trouble? It wouldn't, she smiled. And this smile was different, a little wild, nothing like the perfect student she normally played. For you, it's no trouble at all. My heart skipped a beat. Damn, this girl was gorgeous when she was being a shark. That night, in a corner of the library study room, she barely highlighted anything. Mostly, she just watched me. Her gaze was direct, full of undisguised interest. I fought back the urge to shift uncomfortably, playing the part of a nervous, thrilled kid. Vivian, why do you keep looking at me? You're interesting, she said bluntly, twirling a pen between her fingers. More interesting than the textbook. My ears burned. I cursed her 1,000 times in my head. 3 weeks. Her campaign was relentless. She brought me coffee, gave me her perfectly organized notes. The tutoring sessions at night grew longer, the distance between us shorter. She'd brush her elbow against mine, feigning accident. When I solve a tough problem, she'd pat my shoulder and say, not bad. When Dylan Thorne and his crew tried to give me shit, she stepped in front of me, a clear he's with me posture. Day 17. She cornered me between the towering shelves deep in the library. Leo, her voice was a low whisper. Are you made of stone? I laughed coldly inside, but on the outside, I just stared at her, bewildered. Huh. She blinked, then a smirk spread across her face, as if she thought I was playing dumb, or maybe that I was just genuinely that dense. Be my boyfriend. How about it? She leaned closer, her breath warm against my ear. I'll be good to you. Her eyes were dazzlingly bright, so focused it felt like I was the only person in the world. I lowered my gaze, my throat suddenly dry. Okay. She ruffled my hair, her tone light and victorious. That's more like it. I'll add an extra hour of tutoring for you every day from now on. After we got together, I doubled down on my role as the devoted boyfriend. I was attentive to her every need, ran her errands, fetched her water, and listened with the most earnest expression whenever she explained a concept. Her best friend, Chloe, was always there to tease us. Vivian, you're a legend. Got him in 3 weeks flat. Your new boyfriend is so obedient. Does whatever you say, doesn't he? Vivian would usually just smirk, neither confirming nor denying, implicitly accepting the praise. Sometimes she'd even add, he's pretty well behaved. Then came the night she insisted on taking me to a party with her friends. The room was thick with smoke and throbbing with music. I sat quietly beside Vivian, peeling peanuts for her. Dylan Thorne squeezed himself between us, his breath reeking of booze. He leaned toward Vivian, but raised his voice so everyone nearby could hear. Vivian, not bad. You really managed to lock this little freshman down in under a month. He was grinning, but his eyes were like needles stabbing at me. So how far have you gotten? Don't let things get out of hand and expect me to clean up your mess. The music track changed, and for a few seconds, the room fell silent. His words landed like stones in the quiet. Instantly, every eye was on me. My face hardened. My fingers clenched the peanut shells, crushing them with a sharp crack. Vivian, what is he talking about? She frowned, shooting Dylan an annoyed look. Dylan, you're drunk. Stop talking nonsense. She pulled me closer to her, softening her voice. Don't listen to him. It's nothing. Seeing her defend me, Dylan completely lost it. Right. It's my fault. Is that it, Vivian? You got a boyfriend now, so your friends don't matter anymore? We've known each other for years, and you're yelling at me for him. He shot to his feet, his eyes red. Fine. I'm the extra wheel. I'll leave, okay? He shoved past the people next to him and stormed out, slamming the door. Dylan. Vivian was on her feet in an instant, chasing after him without a second thought, without even a glance back at me. The door banged shut, leaving me frozen in a room filled with awkward silence. The music was still playing, but no one spoke. Chloe let out a nervous laugh, trying to smooth things over. Dylan's just got a temper. Vivian will calm him down. She's always cared about him the most. She looked at me. Don't worry about it, freshman. She'll be back in a bit. My face was a mask as I lowered my head. My fists were clenched so tight at my sides my knuckles were white. But my bangs hid the mocking smile spreading across my face. Worry? Are you kidding me? With Vivian gone, this was a godsend. I could probably get through 10 practice tests tonight. It was almost midnight when Vivian finally texted. He was really drunk and making a scene. Just got him home. Don't overthink it. Dylan's just got a big mouth. Don't take it to heart. I stared at the screen, my insides feeling like ice, but my fingers typed out an obedient reply. Okay, I get it. It's fine. You must be tired. Get some rest. She quickly replied with a single word, good. A second later, a PDF file landed in my inbox. Just got my hands on an internal SAT prep guide. Finish it. This was her way of making it up to me. And I accepted it all, playing the part of the grateful boyfriend. Thanks, Vivian. You're the best. The practice test was brutal, but I dove into it. My knuckles still ached from clenching my fists, but a fierce determination burned inside me. I wanted the scores. I wanted a way out. I wanted a future where they would all have to look up to see me. When a mock exam results came out, I had broken into the top 100 in the entire city. My dead-end high school nearly hung up a banner. Vivian looked at the score report, a genuine smile of pride and approval on her face that almost made me forget myself. You did great. I'm taking you out for Korean barbecue to celebrate. As she was ordering, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her brow furrowing slightly as she looked from the phone back to me. I have to take this outside. She stood up and walked away, her hurried exit sending a familiar chill down my spine. My stomach sank. A dark premonition gripped me. Sure enough, a few minutes later, a familiar figure appeared at our table with a swagger and a smirk. Well, Leo. Fancy seeing you here. Eating all by yourself. Dylan Thorne let out an exaggerated gasp. Vivian's really willing to spend money on you. But I guess you probably can't afford this kind of place on your own. Time to fatten you up. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a thick wad of cash. Then, one bill at a time, slowly and deliberately, he started dropping $100 bills onto my plate, a contemptuous smile on his face. Here, it's on me, buddy. The money soaked up the grease from the meat. Eat up, your skin and bones. If you need cash in the future, just ask me. Don't keep making Vivian pay. She's too nice to say anything, but I can't just watch you take advantage of her like this, right? All the blood in my body seemed to freeze, then ignite with a tidal wave of humiliation. The muscles in my jaw clenched, and my fingertips went cold. Just then, Vivian returned. She saw the scene, and her face instantly darkened. Dylan. She grabbed his wrist as he was about to drop another bill, her voice tight with rage. What the hell is wrong with you? Dylan immediately puffed out his chest, looking like the victim. What did I do? I saw he was broke and gave him some money for food. Is it a crime? Vivian, you jumped down my throat every single time for this guy. He shook her hand off, his eyes blazing. Fine. I'm leaving. I won't get in your way. He snatched his jacket and, once again, stormed out in a huff. Vivian stood there, running a hand through her hair in frustration before looking at me. He's always like this, so spoiled. I'd better go check on him. Order whatever else you want. It's on me. Before the words were even fully out, she was gone. I smirked. Oh, I'd eat Malaysia damfi. These rich kids who've never known hunger really have no respect for food. I was practically bursting when I left the restaurant, my stomach heavy and bloated. As I neared the entrance to my street, I heard hurried footsteps behind me. Leo. Vivian was out of breath, but her tone was matter of fact. Dylan was losing it. I couldn't just leave him. She paused, catching her breath. That's just how he is. He says things without thinking, but he's not a bad person. Don't hold it against him. I stopped, staring down at our two long shadows stretched out by the streetlight. She waited a few seconds, then grew impatient. Leo? Did you go mute? I looked up and forced a smile. I know, Vivian. The tension in her expression finally eased, and a satisfied smile even touched her lips. Good. She patted my shoulder, her mood instantly lightening. I have good news for you. My mom signed me up for a top-tier SAT cram course. The spots are insanely hard to get. Her voice held a note of charitable pride. I had to beg her, but she finally agreed to let you have a spot too. It starts at 2 tomorrow. Don't be late. My heart constricted. A top-tier prep course. That was an opportunity someone from my background couldn't even dream of. Go home, grab your stuff, and come over. Don't waste time. I stood there, watching her disappear around the corner, and slowly clench my fists. For the next few weeks, I clung to that prep course like a drowning man to a life raft. Vivian's family driver would pick me up. I was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. I tried to carve every word the instructors had said into my brain. Coffee became my water. When I got tired, I'd dig my nails into the soft flesh between my thumb and forefinger. My notebooks were crammed with tiny, frantic script. Vivian would occasionally glance over at me, frowning at the bloodshot veins in my eyes and the constant scratching of my pen. Once I was so exhausted that my vision started to blur. She suddenly reached out and pressed her hand over mine, stopping its endless movement. Her palm was warm. I yanked my hand back as if I'd been burned, looking at her with alarm. She froze, seeming surprised by her own action. She looked away, a little flustered, but her voice was softer. You don't have to kill yourself over it. You can take your time. Huh, what a joke. If I didn't kill myself, who was going to hand me a future? But I just lowered my head and mumbled, I want to get into a school near you. She fell silent. She didn't say anything more, but after that, she started bringing an extra energy drink for me. The day the official SAT scores were released, I stared at the impossibly high number, my heart pounding painfully in my chest. Vivian was shocked too, looking over the score report with genuine admiration in her eyes. You did incredibly well, even better than I thought you would. She pulled out a college prospectus, eagerly circling options. It might still be a stretch to get into the same schools as me in Chicago, but these should be no problem. Her friend, Chloe, leaned in, chiming in with a teasing grin. Come on, Vivian, does he even need to choose? The freshman will follow you wherever you go. Right, freshman? He'd go to a lesser school just to stick with our girl. His loyalty is an inspiration to us all. I smiled but didn't answer. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a pack of cigarettes, and expertly tapped one out, placing it between my lips. The motion was fluid, practiced like I'd done it 1,000 times before. Vivian's brow instantly creased. Dylan, as if he'd just been handed a winning lottery ticket, screeched, Vivian, look, I told you he was faking it. I knew he... Click. I flicked open a lighter. A blue flame shot up, igniting the tip. I took a long drag and slowly exhaled a plume of smoke. The gray cloud blurred my expression. I looked at Vivian's eyes, which were wide with shock and disbelief, and I smiled. My school? Oh, that's already been decided. And it's worlds apart from yours, my little tool. She stared at me, as if seeing me for the first time, her face a mask of incredulity. Leo, her voice was raw, scraped from the back of her throat. What are you talking about? We agreed. We were going to go to Chicago together. She even tried to force a reassuring smile, but it looked more painful than a sob. All that work you did, all those practice tests. Wasn't that so? So what? I cut her off, a careless smirk on my lips, but my eyes were ice cold. So we could ride off into the sunset together? Vivian, you really think too highly of yourself. Chloe's mouth was hanging open wide enough to fit an egg. The iced tea in her hand slipped and splattered on the ground. And another thing, I said, raising an eyebrow, my voice laced with mockery, that little bet about whether you could get me in 3 weeks? Did you forget? We were both just using each other. How did you get so invested in the role? The other friends who had been laughing along were now silent, as if choked. The only sound was Dylan's crowing. Vivian, see, I told you. It was all an act. He's just, Shut up. Vivian snapped, whirling on him. Her voice was hoarse, filled with a rage and confusion I'd never heard from her before. She didn't look at anyone else. As if she couldn't bear what was happening, she shoved past the people in her way and rushed toward me, grabbing my wrist. Leo, she gasped, her voice a wreck. Her red-rimmed eyes churned with a regret and panic I'd never seen before. I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. The bet was a horrible thing to do. But what I felt for you afterward, that was real. She fumbled in her pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside were 2 simple silver rings. The insides were engraved, one with VH, the other with LK. They were the ones I had glanced at for a second too long in a jewelry store display case. She had remembered. She then frantically pulled a crumpled envelope from her other pocket and shoved it into my hand. Her fingertips were cold and trembling. Remember? The sunrise over the Rockies you said you wanted to see. I bought the tickets. I was going to surprise you with them. Her words were a jumbled, desperate mess. Because of what happened with Dylan that day, I couldn't. I'll take you now. Right now. We can go see it, okay? I looked at the envelope, remembering a moment months ago. We were both nearly delirious from studying in an empty classroom, and I'd pointed to a picture in a travel magazine, my eyes shining. Vivian, I'd whispered, after this is all over, can we go see the sunrise? I've never seen real mountains. I gently pulled my hand away, not touching the box. Vivian, I said, looking at her, my voice as calm as if I were describing something that had happened long ago. What was between us could never be fixed by a sunrise, a ring, or an apology. Her lips trembled, as if she knew what was coming next, her eyes shining with something close to begging. But I continued, my voice quiet, but every word clear and absolute. Vivian, your casual bet was my all-or-nothing escape route. I used you, and you looked down on me. It was a fair trade. But now, the game is over. I took a step back, creating a physical distance that mirrored the finality of our connection. Don't look for me again, and don't feel any regret. We were never from the same world. Not then, and certainly not now. This is it. It's over. With that, I turned and walked into the crowd, and I didn't look back. Sitting on a Greyhound bus heading away from home, watching the landscape blur and retreat outside the window, I felt unnaturally calm. I had turned off my phone and snapped the SIM card. The swamp I was leaving behind was receding at 60 miles an hour. Later, I heard from Jake, one of the few guys from home I still talk to, that Vivian had been looking for me like a crazy person. His voice was filled with disbelief. Leo, man, you should have seen it. That Northwood girl, Vivian Hayes, she actually went to your dad's place. I raised an eyebrow, motioning for him to continue. You know what your dad's like. He opens the door, sees this well-dressed girl, and immediately starts demanding money. Jake did a perfect, gravelly impression. That damn kid took off. Still owes me a ton of money. I snorted. Exactly what I expected. Then what? I asked. Then your dad, probably drunk off his ass, starts running his mouth, Jake said, his voice dropping to a whisper. He said some other fancy-looking kid had come looking for you before. Real arrogant type. Gave him some cash and told him to straighten his son out. My fingers tightened around the phone. Dylan Thorne. Of course it was him. That same vicious streak, it never changed. Jake was still talking. Dude, I heard that Vivian girl's face went white as a sheet, like she'd been struck by lightning. She couldn't even speak right. Just turned around and left. A while later, another friend mentioned that Vivian had apparently gone to the old 24-hour gaming lounge we used to hang out at. The owner was a rough-around-the-edges guy, but he'd let me use the internet for free to look up school stuff, and I'd help him move inventory when I couldn't pay. My friend said the owner told people about it later. That girl came by, asking about the kid who used to come in with her all the time. Man, I told her that kid had it rough. The owner seemed to be reminiscing when he spoke to Vivian. I told her before you get here, he'd always be tucked away in a corner, watching tutoring videos, flipping through some beat-up prep book. He kept asking me, hey man, is this the right book? Is this the dumbest way to solve this problem? He was terrified of looking stupid in front of you. Sometimes you'd be late, and I'd see him curled up in the chair, eating instant ramen while staring at the screen, totally zoned in. I really thought you two had something real. The pretty girl patiently teaching, the tough kid working his ass off. My friend said that after hearing all that, Vivian just stood there for a long time, looking wrecked. Finally, she croaked out a thank you and left. Listening to the story, I could picture her standing there, completely shattered. She was probably finally understanding that what she saw as my obedience and adoration was really just my desperate struggle to survive, to protect the last shred of dignity I had. College was no time to relax. No one knew Leo Kane, the troublemaker, and no one cared about Vivian Hayes' ex-boyfriend. I could finally focus on my own goals. Handing out flyers and moving boxes paid too little and took too much time. I needed more flexible work. My phone was on 24/7, my eyes glued to the university's student forums and part-time job boards, ready to pounce on any gig. Class sitter will answer attendance. $20 a class. Package retrieval, $2 for small, $5 for large. Extra for heavy items. I tore across campus on a beat-up bicycle I bought secondhand, a blur of motion fueled by necessity. With that, I scraped together my first bit of operating capital. I devoured my classes, my notes meticulously organized, highlighting key concepts and categorizing problem types. Before finals, I digitized my notes and posted them on the school's online marketplace. A+ Calc 2 Essential Notes PDF, $10. C Programming Lab Code with full annotations, $5. The demand was insane. Knowledge really was power. I also learned to game every new app promotion and campus marketing event, collecting free t-shirts, power banks, and keyboards, then immediately flipping them on the marketplace. I'd buy graduating seniors old textbooks and study guides by the pound, clean them up, and sell them at a small markup to the next class. It was all small money, but it added up. Later, I noticed a lot of students struggled with debugging code or making decent presentations, so I started offering my services. $20 for a simple fix, more for complex problems. I did document formatting, resume editing, and eventually even ghost wrote short course essays, carefully avoiding any plagiarism, of course. Academically, I was relentless. I was there when the library opened and left when it closed. I always sat in the front row, my eyes practically welded to the professor. My assignments were always the first turned in, complete with every extra credit problem I could find. Weekends didn't exist. They were prime time for making money and studying. My life was stripped to the essentials. Breakfast was 2 protein bars. Lunch was the cheapest meal at the dining hall. Dinner was often a cup of instant ramen. I didn't go out, didn't hang out, didn't buy anything I didn't absolutely need. I cut my own hair and wore the same few basic clothes on rotation. Some people probably thought I was living like a monk, but I felt a profound sense of peace. Every dollar was mine. Every grade was earned. I no longer had to read anyone's expressions or pretend to be someone I wasn't. Sometimes, late at night, staring out at the unfamiliar city lights, I'd think about that summer, about Vivian's shocked face and Dylan's sputtering rage. Then I put on my headphones and get back to coding. I never thought I'd see Vivian again. Until that evening, I had just left the engineering lab, my backpack stuffed with textbooks and my laptop on my way to my next gig. And then I saw her. Vivian was leaning against a sleek black sports car, her figure haloed by the setting sun. She wore a sharply tailored dark trench coat, her frame still slender and elegant, but her face was clouded with a deep, unshakable exhaustion. A cigarette was wedged between her fingers, unlit, the ash falling away undisturbed. She saw me, and her eyes instantly locked onto mine like a traveler in the desert who'd finally found an oasis but was too hesitant to approach. Leo. Her voice was deeper and raspier than I remembered. I stopped, looking at her calmly. Her throat worked, as if the words were difficult. I found Dylan. He admitted everything. That he went to your father, paid him to take care of you. She paused, her eyes swimming with pain and regret. I made sure. He won't have it easy from now on. His family ran into some major trouble. They sent him overseas. He won't be bothering you again. I nodded, my voice still flat. Okay, got it. My reaction seemed to throw her off. She was silent for a few seconds, as if gathering an immense amount of courage, before she finally spoke, each word grinding its way out. Leo, I've been looking for you for a long time. Her straight shoulders finally slumped. The innate pride and confidence that had been bred into her bones shattered on the pavement, leaving behind something that looked almost like begging. How could you cut me off so completely? How could you be so cruel to me, not even giving me a chance to make it right? She looked at me, her eyes red, her voice trembling slightly. Leo, I have a lot of money now. Much more than before. Whatever you want, I can give it to you. A house, a car, the best job. I can send you abroad to study. Can you just... She took a deep breath, as if it took all her strength to voice the absurd request. Can you just use me one more time? I gently shook my head. Vivian, do you know? There were moments when I almost let myself believe. The way you looked so focused when you were explaining a problem to me, the moment you tilted your umbrella over me in the rain, even that time you took me to that expensive arcade. Those moments were real. I still think about them sometimes. A tiny flicker of light ignited in her eyes, as if she were grabbing onto a lifeline. But what about the hug? I looked at her, my question sharp and clear. In the hallway at that party, the hug you gave Dylan, that was real, too. The color drained from her face. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I once trusted you without reservation. I laid out all the ugly parts of my past for you to see. But when you and Dylan were talking about my deadbeat, gambling father, what was going through your mind? Was it pity, or was it a joke? Leo, you're being too hard on me. She choked out, her face pale. I looked at her and gave a small, humorless smile. I even secretly thought to myself, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if things just kept going the way they were. But Vivian, I said, looking right at her, my words deliberate and clear. A cracked board can be glued back together, but the line is always there. Tears streamed down Vivian's face. She grabbed my arm, her voice thick with sobs. But Rottenwood can sprout new life. But it won't be because of you. I thought I made all of this clear the year we graduated. Go home, Vivian. Move on. I finished, pulled the straps on my backpack tight, and walked around her, continuing on my way. Vivian wasn't the type to cling or cause a scene. Her pride wouldn't allow it. But she didn't exactly leave my world, either. For the first few days, she appeared like clockwork, parking her flashy sports car outside my dorm, drawing stares from everyone who passed. The window would roll down, and she'd offer a beautifully packaged meal or an obviously expensive electronic device without a word. She even posted a few anonymous looking for someone messages on the university's online forum, her tone frantic. I never accepted a single thing. The items always ended up back in her car, untouched. A senior in my lab group, a friendly and outgoing girl, electronic device without a word. She even posted a few anonymous looking for someone messages on the university's online forum, her tone frantic. I never accepted a single thing. The items always ended up back in her car, untouched. A senior in my lab group, a friendly and outgoing girl who had been helping me out, had invited me to work on a few projects with her. A short time later, she tactfully told me the team was full and they didn't need any more help for now. I had a pretty good idea who was behind it. I cornered Vivian at the entrance to the science building. Is this fun for you, Vivian? I was exasperated. Is it that hard to just let your world and my world be separate? She flinched, a look of genuine shock and helplessness on her face as she instinctively denied it. I didn't. Leo, she said, her eyes downcast, her voice hoarse. I don't know what else to do. Do nothing. I answered without a shred of hesitation. Disappearing is the best thing you can do for me. After that, she really did stop appearing. But her one-person penance simply morphed into something quieter, something impossible to call out. When I applied for a research assistant position, the process was unnaturally smooth. The competitive academic team I'd been dreaming of joining suddenly expanded, and I inexplicably received an internal recommendation and was accepted. Even the old textbooks and notes I listed on Facebook Marketplace were always bought by the same few accounts. No questions asked, no haggling over the price, only for the shipping address to be a vacant lot. My private social media account gained a new follower with a blank profile picture. It was a silent visitor, never liking or commenting. But every time I posted about a project breakthrough or a scholarship I'd won, I'd check my viewer history. That blank space was always at the top of the list, the timestamp showing it had been viewed just minutes after I posted. She was a ghost in the machine, a shadow in the data, silently confirming that I existed and was moving forward. I heard she had changed a lot, too. She had become quiet, reserved, and smoked constantly. She took over a portion of her family's business, becoming known for her ruthless and decisive methods. But she had completely vanished from the social scene, her personal life a complete blank. Time passed peacefully. I was accepted into a prestigious graduate program, moving on to a higher platform. The day I left campus, the sun was bright. I was dragging my suitcase and one last box out of the dorm building when I saw it parked by the curb. The familiar black sports car. She was leaning against it. She was thinner than she had been years ago, the lines of her face sharper, her eyes quiet and shadowed with a weariness that never seemed to leave. An unlit cigarette was between her fingers. We looked at each other across the distance. She didn't move toward me. She just gave a slight nod, a gesture that felt like a farewell, and also like a final confirmation that I was truly moving on and away. In that moment, I couldn't quite name the feeling. There was no hatred, no ripple of emotion. It was like seeing a stranger I had known for a very long time. I broke my gaze and pulling my luggage behind me, I once again turned and disappeared into the flow of people. Whatever was between us should have ended that summer, 2 years ago. The woman standing by the car, now, had finally learned the right way to say goodbye. Our paths lay ahead, in opposite directions,